Okay then guys, welcome back to another video for my channel. This is just going to be a quick review of taking my nephew for his first ever game day at Airsoft. So I took him, just to recap what we covered in the last episode, I took him to Battle Stations Airsoft, which is by Snetterton near Thetford. The goal was to take him there because it has both very close quarters CQB, but also some spaces to get more kind of longer shots. So it has a little bit of the best of both worlds. The plan was also because they have relatively decent rental equipment compared to some sites, and it's a site that I know well, ergo I know kind of it will be a relatively good day. So I want to talk about the pros and the cons today, the things that went well, the things that didn't go well, and where I probably would look to improve in the future to make a difference going forward. So first things first, I would say the biggest issue with the day was with iPro. So my nephew didn't have much issues with my nephew had issues with the iPro itself. So originally they started off all the rentals on mesh face masks. They do provide non-mesh face masks on site. I asked my nephew if he wanted to swap out for a non-mesh one straight away. He said he wasn't that bothered, so we just kind of cracked on with it. We fit up with a face mask. You've got body armor and you have a M4 replica. We got started for our first game. About 5-10 minutes into the first game, we had a bit of an issue with the face mask because he'd taken some shots. Obviously, the BBs are banging into mesh. He really didn't like that. It kind of rocked the boat a little bit for him and kind of, I wouldn't say ruined the day, just made it so very much he couldn't enjoy that first game. So luckily one of the marshals came over to us, took my nephew off of the game field, swapped out for a bigger mask. Now, this is where we encountered the second iPro problem, which is that the next mask is similar to one what I had here for a while, that it belongs to a friend of mine. Which is one of these kind of cheaper rental full-faced kind of solid masks. And the issue that my nephew had was when they gave it to him, it was not set up for him. So basically they whacked a mask on him that hadn't been adjusted. So after the first game was finished, we had to sit there and for a little bit of the second game also have to come out and try and adjust this mask to try and get it to fit. So if I can make any recommendations, avoid mesh masks, go straight for solid ones, and also as well make sure your mask is well adjusted before the gameplay for young people. I think the issue is that for people who've played Airsoft before, you know how tight your mask needs to be, you know what it needs to do to be able to be solid while you're running about or doing things. Obviously I think you're going to have to do that on behalf of somebody who's not done it before, and that's exactly the issue we had. So we were able to sort that. It just meant the first game and a half was a little bit rocky just due to the face pro issues. Second issues we had was with replicas that they provided. Nothing wrong with them really. The main issue being is the site uses very large batteries which go in the stock, and that means that these large batteries, which are effectively pretty much not really made for those replicas, if you try and they basically were telling everybody not to touch the stocks on their guns, which means for my nephew, who didn't have long enough arms for those guns, was having issues going around corners and getting people because the stocks were too long. So another thing to take into account is that if you've got a youngster that's got shorter arms, stuff like that, you know, just to be aware that that can be an issue too. Now I think if we'd have spoken to a marshal and had it swapped out for something else, it probably wouldn't have been an issue, but by that point we were most of the way through the day, so when it really started becoming an issue. I think the first couple of games he was getting used to playing, so then when he actually got into things and realised actually this gun is the thing that's slowing me down, which I can understand, we were already a fair amount into the day. The only other issues I had then was site maps. This is something that I didn't really even think of myself, as it's obviously a lot of people I play with, including myself, go to sites either regularly or have people who know the sites pretty well. So I knew the site at BSA pretty well. There's one or two changes that I made every so often there, but not massively. And I think the biggest issue for youngsters is if you don't have a map of the site or you don't know where things are on the game fields, it can get a little bit more difficult. So we were having issues where obviously the marshals were explaining to us, this is where the objectives are, is this stuff there. Now I know where the building with a chimney is, I know where bridge is, I know where the buses are, because those things don't move, they're there all the time. So even if the game field, kind of the map changes, those objects stay the same. However, I think for young people, we had a lot of rentals that day, and I think what highlighted the issue for me, for beginners playing the game, was that none of the rentals on the enemy team or our team knew where any of the objectives were, which meant the enemy team lost all of the games that day. We won every single game. Fantastic, amazing. I think my nephew enjoyed it because it's even if you're not getting the most amount of kills or you're getting killed a lot, if your team wins, you must have been doing something right? So the difference between our team and the enemy team, because we both had a fair bit of rentals, was our team was taking those rentals, showing them where the objectives were, getting them involved, and having them come with us. Obviously, I mentioned to the people that were there with us because I bumped into a few people I've played with games before. Not necessarily friends of mine or people I know by name, but people I've played with before that are very friendly and happy to kind of hang around as a bit of a squad as you play. Very social people. Those people were fantastic, because obviously we had rentals on our team. I explained that with my nephew, all of this stuff, and they were very happy to kind of drag him along with us. I say drag him along, obviously not dragging him. Whereas I think the enemy team that day, the downside for them was they had absolutely no support for their rentals whatsoever, and that obviously meant that they couldn't play the objectives effectively. They had I probably would say, so I think it was 14 or 16 versus 16. I think it was 16 versus 16. I think it was 5 or 6 rentals in each team and then 10 regular players, I think. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head what the exact numbers were. I think there was only about 30 something people there on the day. So I think that from my perspective, you have to ask yourself a question: is it the game site's responsibility to teach people when they arrive where things are and how to navigate the site, or is it the responsibility of the teams and their players? I'm not 100% convinced it's either or. I just think that maybe, like, if you go to Blackstone, which is in Huntingdon, they have maps in the safe zone and in the game field that show you the entire facility. And when you're getting your briefing, they'll show you sometimes as well the maps and where the objectives are. So realistically speaking, all you need to figure out is that's where I've spawned, that's where I need to go. Sorted. I think more game sites need to be like that, because again, Blackstone can be changed, but what they're showing you is the general areas. This is the bakery, this is the pub, this is the gold room, this is the purple room. Like, they have where the different rooms are. Now obviously all the passages can change all the time between those spaces, but that's half the fun of playing each time, because the maps change. But knowing which direction to move is the issue, I think, and that's very much the only recommendation I would say is that if you are going to take a young person with you, to prevent that frustration of getting lost all the time and not being able to enjoy yourself, is, if you've been to that site before, or people have been to that site before, try and work with them, and they'll should help you out. Most teams are pretty good. Again, I think the reason why the enemy team on our day didn't do too well was because none of them were working with each other. You had basically just pockets of 2 people that knew each other on the enemy team, so you maybe had 6 people that were working in teams of 2, but again, they were going for different objectives, so we're just getting smoked every time, and then just a blob of 6 or 7 rentals running around, absolutely having no idea where they're going. I mean, we had rentals on the enemy team defending an objective. We have to capture it by lifting up metal boxes. They were defending it fiercely, and hats off to them. They got some really nice kills on our team. They didn't capture the objective because once they got there, they had no idea what the boxes looked like that they had to move. So they were sat in the room that they'd been told the objective was in and hadn't actually captured it. And we ended up winning the game because we'd captured it earlier and they hadn't moved the boxes around. So I think that's another thing you have to tackle as well. Anything else I would say to improve? I'd say the only other thing I would say for taking my nephew with me is that next time I think we will go, we may not go to the same place. We might try somewhere different. Not saying there's anything wrong with BSA, it's my favourite place to go. I think the other issue is that for youngsters, and definitely my nephew, it can be very overwhelming in a CQB environment where you've got very confident people versus people who are not very confident because they're just starting the game. and I did take a bit of a risk with going to BSA because obviously they have got the large element of CQB there. I think a woodland site being more applicable for first time starters, I reckon, is definitely a go-to. You know, like I said, I started at a woodland site. In our previous video we covered that I started at a woodland site, mainly CQB, and a woodland site, mainly long range, not CQB. They have got a little CQB thing there on site, but mainly long range. Allows full auto, so what you would tend to have is all of the good players that had good kit were running semi, because you could be more accurate in semi and you can still spray just as much if you've got a quick trigger finger. And you had all your rentals running about that, you know, they're much less accurate and had much less skill, but because they could just hold their finger down on the trigger, you know, if they snuck up on someone, no matter how good the other person is, that rental can still just hold down that trigger and just absolutely spray the day away. So that's why I liked going there, but unfortunately that's now closed permanently and being gotten rid of. So that site's no longer an option. It seems to be a lot of the bigger sites in the UK that aren't CQB, that are on large properties, are going the way of the dodo at the moment. So we'll have to see. Now, if you guys got any more questions about me taking my nephew with me, please shoot away and ask in the comments. Like I said, he's a young lad. He's underneath the age of 18. You know, he enjoyed himself in the end. We made an agreement. I'll take him again next year. So he's not getting anything for Christmas. He's coming with us for another game day next year. But yeah, I very much will. I think when I take him next year, I might do another part to this series. So this, most of you will probably forget that I did this, but I'll do another video next year, I reckon, just to cover the different experience. Maybe taking him to a long range kind of non-CQB site. Alright, well I'll leave you guys all to it. Just for those of you who haven't watched my recap video, uploads are now every other week rather than weekly, and that will last until February or March time. So it's just because I'm really busy at the moment, but I still want to make content for you guys to enjoy. So I will catch you in the next one.